Marcellus Wiley, part of the Dan Patrick Podcast Network, a weekly show, unique journey around the sports, entertainment, cultural landscape. It's called More to It with Marcellus Wiley. You can listen wherever you get your podcast. This week, Marcellus talks about Brittany Griner, Andrew Luck, and why Deion Sanders did not buy into the BS. Marcellus also had this to say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You know what's crazy about this? This is exactly what the Bucs signed up for. They signed up for this. When Tom Brady misses 11 days of training camp, when Leonard Fournette becomes 5 net, 6 net, just big, and then, I ain't that big, I weigh the same. You try to run that game on people like the scale says the same, but let's just say my pants don't fit the same.
The Buccaneers play the Bengals coming up this weekend. You think this is it for Tom Brady?
I don't think this is it, just because Tom Brady can't let this be his last hurrah in the NFL with that greatness, that resume, the dynasties he was able to create. You can't end on this note. And I don't think it's just by record or the fact that they may make the playoffs, they won't be a Super Bowl champion team. I think it's the fact that Tom Brady knows that he wasn't all in this year. I think that he doesn't want his resume, his legacy to say, I wasn't as committed at the end as I was throughout my duration of my career. So this is Tom Brady saying, I have to go out there and play my best. And playing my best means full commitment. This year, we haven't seen that.
And, okay, you got a divorce, you get your family situated, then maybe that can help him if he wants to play one more year. And I still look at Las Vegas. Josh McDaniels, you got Devontae, you got Josh Jacobs, you got defensive, some impact players there. I know it's a tough division, but do you see a different scenario for Tom?
Well, it looks like Josh is going to survive this year despite the ups and downs with this team. But more importantly, I don't know if Tom Brady is in position to map onto a team to win a Super Bowl. I think you got to be a little more selfish in this moment and think about your legacy. Think about what you want out of the situation. Obviously, that's the ultimate prize, but that's an almost impossible calculation to make. A team that looks ready-made on paper typically is not the team that's going to win the Super Bowl. The intangibles kick in. So if I'm Tom Brady, as much as the narrative is everywhere he goes, he wins and wins a Super Bowl, the reality is you just don't want to go out on a sour note or a note that is not as committed.
We saw Brady throw a couple of interceptions against the Niners. Dre Greenlaw got one of those. And here's Tom Brady talking about the defensive player for the Niners asking for an autograph.
It was for me, to be honest. It was complete but I try to be a gentleman. No, it was actually, look, it was a great play he made. I'm happy he's got the ball. I wish I didn't throw it, but I'm trying to be a good sport because a lot of times I'm not a good sport. I could be a pretty bad sport. And so in the moment when they get me in the right frame of mind, I'm actually a good sport.
All right. In your third year, I think you sacked Brett Favre. Fourth year, you got Tom Brady. Let's stay with Brett Favre. Third-year player, you sack him. Let's say at the end of the game, you want to get an autograph, football, jersey, something. Did you ever do that? Did you ever ask for an autograph from somebody that you defeated?
No, I never did it just because I didn't think it was the time or the place. We know football is more than just tackling and running around. It's also the mentality. They're always your opponent until there's the offseason or they're your teammate, right? So I never bought into that. Obviously, you're a gentleman, handshake, how's the family, respect. But I will give you one where I was a fan, man. Grew up a John Elway fan to the fullest. Eric Dickerson and John Elway motivated me to play football. And my first game ever in the NFL preseason was in Denver against John Elway. And I just remember looking at him 5 feet away around the 50-yard line in warmups. I'm like, that's not the 7, that's that Foot Locker. That's actually John Elway right there. And that was as close as I got to a fan, man. And also as close as I got to sacking him that day. I didn't do a damn thing.
What do you think of what Dre Greenlaw did asking Brady?
it's a different world. These guys they're so immersed in like social media clicks. Everything is just something that they can take viral. And everything now is so personalized. Like I see guys walking from their car to the locker room, and that's a montage video during commercial breaks in the stadium. I'm like, everything they do is a movie. So yeah, they're actors now. They're not even just like hardcore primal Neanderthal football players. They're like in some kind of like third dimensional movie. So yeah, the rules are gone. The way I lived, you have to get off the lawn. Now they all share the same space.
He's Marcellus Wiley, the former All-Pro defensive end and host of the podcast More to It, Dan Patrick Podcast Network. On the podcast, you talked about Deion Sanders not buying into the BS. What BS?
The BS is that Deion Sanders has to do something for others before himself. The BS is that Deion Sanders has to handcuff him to a situation that is lesser for him just because it's for the culture, when the culture should be for Deion Sanders and promoting his growth to the greatest limit it can go. So the BS is something that I think we all have faced in certain facets of our life, when maybe it's your surroundings, maybe it's your friend group, when you try to do more. You remember growing up and you just tell your friends, oh, man, I'll see y'all later. Where you going? I'm going to study. We got a test tomorrow. Oh, man. And it was just to improve yourself. But they literally are trying to sway you because they want you to be bigger for the group than for yourself. So I'm glad Deion Sanders, who I had full confidence in, that this was a stepping stone. Jackson State was a stepping stone to the next, as Colorado will be a stepping stone in success to the next. So I'm just glad he didn't buy into the BS narrative.
Could Brock Purdy be an upgraded quarterback for the Niners?
Yes.
Is he an upgrade?
Not yet. I tell you why. The yes is the talent. The yes is the measurables. The yes is the fact that they believe in him. I'm not sold yet, because it's one thing to wake up. Oh, let's start here. It's one thing to get thrown into a game, adrenaline rush, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to just play off instinct. It's another thing to wake up and you're like, okay, I'm the starter going forward. And it's another thing when they hang those Super Bowl expectations on you and it's playoff time and everyone is not just saying, oh, you did well as a fill-in. No, we're counting on you. So last week was a fill-in responsibility. Now it's going to get in success to where we're counting on you. And so far, under Shanahan, only Jimmy G has been the one who has raised his hand and stood tall in those moments. Every other quarterback, look at Shanahan's record with every other quarterback. They faltered in those situations.
Were you ever on a team where the backup was better than the starter at quarterback?
Yeah. This is going to hurt because I still see Rob Johnson every now and then, but Doug Flutie was better than Rob Johnson. We had that quarterback civil war in Buffalo. Woo, you talking about Crips and Bloods. You talking about dissension. You talking about banging in the locker room. The owner was against Wade Phillips, the head coach. Half the offense was split. Defense was sold on Doug Flutie. And all this time, we couldn't say anything to the media or in public. We just had to say mum's the word. But in reality, we were all sold on Doug Flutie because we had more success. And when he got his opportunity, he showed why we believed in him. But yeah, that was crazy when you got a guy out there and you're like, we got a better one on the bench, coach. Get with the program.
Yeah, if Flutie was around now, then he could make an impact, right? This would be better, this system, this scenario, because now we don't go, oh, well, he's only 5'9" or 5'10". Flutie was a great player. He was just too soon. He was before his time.
Oh, yeah, he would have been Kyler Murray, maybe Kyler Murray plus in some situations, because Doug Flutie could play the game. He just was stereotyped. He was just looked at, and they just said, we're going to box you in as a guy who can't throw between the tackles and only can run outside to find vision and space. But Doug Flutie, one of the greatest athletes I've ever been around, and I'm talking about all sports, all things. Doug Flutie was a special player, but just wasn't given great opportunities. So he always went to the plate, and there were 2 strikes before he took his first swing. And that's why he didn't get all the flowers he deserved.
And she'll like it too.
Yeah, he was a beast, man. Talk about Flutie. I love Flutie Flakes, man. He was a beast.
When you have a concussion, do you know you have a concussion?
When I played, we never said we had concussions. My first concussion happened when I was 8 years old in a swimming pool, dove in 3 feet, dumb. My second concussion was falling off a swing, got pushed out of the swing by some gangsters. They're dumb. In the NFL, I didn't have any concussions. We said you got your bell rung, and we didn't even term it a concussion. So I know that I've blacked out before, which I know now is I had a concussion. But all through my 10 years of playing in the NFL, not one time did anyone ever walk up to me. And as I can remember, any of my teammates say, "Oh, you have a concussion." We know guys got knocked out. It's just the terminology was different.
But what happened with the Patriots on Monday night?
You know, it's interesting when you see, like, the players now, there's so many conflicting interests, right? You have the interest of the player who doesn't want to acknowledge the concussion for obvious reasons, playing time, money, and opportunity. It's the independent doctor who is trying to tell you from the outside what you are feeling on the inside. It's the team that is obviously wink, wink for the player, but really for the player playing. And all those things are just conflating and conflicting at one time. So it's a crazy situation to always look at.
Yeah, but you're supposed to have an independent spotter, correct?
Yeah.
But he had to be watching another game because you have somebody down, who is it, Jacoby Myers or Devontae Parker. He's down and they help him up. And then all of a sudden you're like, he shouldn't be out on the field. But they missed it. Now, if it's a quarterback, we're going to err to the side of caution. And in that situation, they didn't. His teammate had to call timeout.
Yeah, it's crazy, because one, there was no other game to watch. So, he was just caught up in the sauce, right? And more than that, when you're in that position, obviously you need someone to save you from yourself, right? It's why a boxer has a corner man. It's to protect you when you can't go out there and when you shouldn't be out there. And in that situation, they missed it because that just shows you that the real motivation is not just players' health. It's the bottom line. It's the dollars. Like, we need them out there. Like, you should err on the side of caution so much that can never happen. Yeah. But it does happen. It happened with Tua, et cetera. It happens because their heart's not in saving the players fully. And, when you talk big business, you can understand why in that respect. But when you're talking about player safety in one breath, it doesn't make sense.
Always great to talk to you. Thank you, Marcellus.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Marcellus Wiley. The podcast is More to It. And great reaction to his opinions. Not afraid to talk about sensitive topics. He'll go where most don't go. More to It with Marcellus Wiley, wherever you get your podcasts.